We'll see. All right, there we go. We're recording. Yay! Welcome to Caregiver Call number 3. Woo! Sandi and I are the only two caregivers here today, but that's okay because we're checking in with each other. Say again what you just said, Sandi, because I thought it was good, and I think it's important to talk about those layers.
Yeah, well, we were checking in about how the week has gone, and I was just sharing that it's been a hard one. And when Jess and I were talking about what to talk about today, it really hit me that, kind of checking in about we're a month into, stay home, stay safe, all, sort of our upending of our lives. And I'm realizing this week that there's a part of me that is feeling, okay, it's been a month, we're kind of in a groove. We sort of know what we need to know, and we've got the things that we need, and everything's pretty okay. The kids are online school has now become a habit. It's a routine that we've all figured out. But in a different sense, there's a feeling of it's been a month. I'm tired of this. I'm ready to get back to normal. What is normal going to be? When is this, so all the panic and uncertainty, and then wondering, then the extreme of that is those feelings or those ideas that maybe we never will go back to something that feels normal. Maybe we have to start thinking about this might be a whole new way of life we have to start looking at. So everything from kind of in a groove to, I don't want to call it panic because I don't think it's panic, but kind of this feeling of, oh boy, what's happening?
Yeah, it's interesting because I went to CVS just now to look for allergy medication, and I grabbed my mask and I grabbed my hand sanitizer, and it's like that's part of the routine now, right? And you do the mask and then you do the hand sanitizer before you go in, and then you do the hand sanitizer when you come out. And I was like, who am I? Like 2 weeks ago, that freaked me out. Like I had to think about that ritual and like be really tense and nervous about it. And now it's just like, that's what you do. And I had that same thought, like, are my children going to be doing this in 20 years? Like, is this going to be standard when we go out in public?
Yeah.
And that's a crazy thing to think about, because even though we feel settled, there's still so much uncertainty, and it's hard to plan. We've got vacations, as I'm sure many people do, strung out over the next 4 months, and it's hard to know what we're going to be able to do and what we're not going to be able to do. And part of, I think, what's difficult about that is I'd like to be able to dangle that carrot for myself and the kids to go, look, we're going to be able to go to Colorado in 6 weeks or to San Diego in 8 weeks or whatever. Because I think those moments of something to look forward to are even more important now,
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a good point about this whole, the impact of what it looks like. And I'm thinking of little kids who have mom and or dad and or both home full time, and they're home full time. And then hopefully in the fall, there's some transition back to in the classroom learning. And so there's this transition of, I liked being home with mom and dad, and now I have to go back to school.
Yeah.
And for adults too, like so many times we hear this, I would say I primarily from women, this kind of tug of, I want to be home with my kids and I want to, be out in the workforce. And so, there's all sorts of different types of transitions absent the threat of illness.
Yeah. Yes. There's like 27 things I love about working from home all the time, and 27 things that I think we all could name that we love about this time of togetherness, right? And 27 other things that we don't like, but you and I have talked about this before, like what do we keep? What will we keep? And yeah, you're right. I mean, I hadn't even thought about that impact of kids being home, but I think about my 8-year-old who had a really hard time starting 2nd grade this year. He had so much anxiety about that. And I wonder what starting a new year after being off for 6 months is going to feel like for him and other kids that experience that same feeling, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's funny, you were talking about your, routine of, the hand sanitizer and the mask. And it's funny, I was at the grocery store this morning, and just the naturalness of the pause before you get too close to somebody, walking up and down the aisles in the grocery store. It's like that consciousness of staying a certain distance apart. And I'm wondering how natural that's going to continue to feel, and like cultivating that awareness at the point where it's like, yeah, you can be back in the community again, and you can talk to people in the store, and everybody is not although I find more and more people, it was so funny, a woman smiled at me, we smiled at each other, and then after I got by her a little bit, she goes, "Oh, I forgot I was wearing a mask. I actually smiled." I said, "That's okay. I saw it in your eyes." She's like, "I want to make sure you knew I wasn't glaring at you." So it was really kind of cute.
Yeah, that's hard. I've been thinking about that too. Like, how do you be friendly to someone when they can only see you from here up?
Yeah.
That
but
is.
we smile with our whole faces, so you could tell she was smiling.
Yeah, we do. That's really true. That's funny.
Yeah.
Have you been doing this? Have you watched any movies or TV in the last week or so?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like anytime I've watched anything, I've had a reaction to people's closeness to each other in the movie. Like, I'll see people close to each other and I'll be like, like, are they going to be okay? Or they'll like walk into a public place and like not wash their hands afterwards. And I'm like, oh, are they going to be okay? And I mean, it's just changed the way that the filter that we see things through, and I think about everybody in our family and everybody in the world. And if, how long is it going to take once this is over to retrain our brains again?
Yeah.
Or are we going to continue to have that reaction and be telling stories when we're 80 about like, remember when people couldn't get close to each other?
Well, and also, I mean, you're talking about like when this is over, and then I think, well, we've got another flu season coming everywhere here, just like it always does. Mm-hmm. And so what might be residual that's out there? I mean, I'm thinking of people, as we get closer to flu season, this anticipation, like, is it going to happen again?
Yeah.
Are we going to find another new virus that we have to be worried about, or have we dealt sufficiently with COVID that it's not going to make a recurrence, and we've got things in place that we do that keep everybody safe?
Yeah. So what are you doing right now to kind of take care of yourself and your brain as you try to deal with all of the different layers of this that you mentioned when we first started talking?
Well, well, two things have happened. One is I've noticed I have to be very, very careful with my self-talk, because I notice myself like not having that balance, having that, that negativity bias, our natural negativity bias. And I have to really watch like these unmonitored things, just thoughts, feelings that go through my head. The other thing is I'm currently doing an online course on self-reg, which is this concept with Dr. Stuart Shanker out of Canada. And so I am in the 12th week of it, so halfway through. And we've been going through, it started out because he's got this concept of these 5 domains and we experience stress in all of these 5 domains, and they're interrelated. And it's, his 5 steps of self-reg to help recognize those stressors so that we can reduce or eliminate those stressors so that we can just be the human beings that we're naturally going to be. So this week's module was all about the pro-social domain, which was talking about empathy. And about empathy, it's kind of like resilience. We have to experience it. We can't, we talk about, we have to teach our kids social skills. We have to teach our kids about empathy, and social skills, empathy, resilience. All of those things are things that we can certainly talk about, and we can certainly identify what they look like, for us and for other people. But in order to truly understand empathy and understand resilience, there has to be a lived experience of that, or some kind of experiential thing. So it's really helped me have a little bit more empathy for myself, because things have gotten much busier for me rather than slower. And when this all started, my silver lining was, I'm going to have some time to do and to read more books and to do some things I've really been, and I'm not even completing projects. It's like I'm rushing around. Tomorrow's Friday, and I promised like 4 different things that I'm nowhere near getting done. So it's, so I see that self-regulation, like practicing that, understanding the biology, understanding, just having a little empathy for myself, my reactions, my emotions, and all of that stuff. And really, while I'm learning more about it, beginning to practice some of these steps of self-regulation, to see if I can get myself out of my stress mode, so I can, just sort of be more realistic about the things I can accomplish.
Have you noticed a difference between how you are responding in all of this and how your husband is responding in all of this?
I do. It's been very interesting. It has been extreme, because he has very much, and I know we've talked about this, he is very much, he's put projects together. He is an event planner, so I think he has taken all of those skills of planning and executing events, and he's done a ton of yard work. We've cleaned every room and almost every closet except for mine in the house. And so it's having that order and structure, I think, for him, that has helped. And he's naturally a very optimistic person. So he's cautiously optimistic. He's a little bit nervous, in terms of events, waiting and hoping that by July everything is still everything gets green lighted, that he's got waiting in the wings. But I see him kind of putting some organization and structure around us, like the bubble of us and what's going on in our house, where I am thinking much more about the emotional well-being of my kids after that, like be conscious of what's happening now, being aware and trying to read the cues, some of their cues, as well as preparing myself to helping them with the transitions. Because I've got one transitioning into high school, so she's missing the whole end of one grade and all of the stuff that they do to prepare them, all the field trips to the high school, all the talks with peers, how they get to, there was, with the high school she's going to, this spring, they were going to go and go on tours with current high school students and kind of doing a day in the life kind of thing. So, so there's that piece. And then I've got one ending the first year of college, going from trying to figure out how to manage classes and to everything is online, which is a lot easier in some respects for him. But then transitioning back to having to be someplace at a certain time with your butt in the seat, so I feel like I've got that, like managing emotions, and my husband's more about managing structures and processes.
I think this has been such an interesting time of noticing at our house because, you know, when you're kind of in a crisis together and you're together 24/7, you're like, oh, you have this behavior, which is your way of coping with this thing. And oh, look at that. I have my way. And it's exactly the opposite of what you're doing. And there's some tension there. And
Yeah.
I think, you know, we should probably say those things out loud to each other. So there's been a lot of that going on in our house, which has been like very helpful because I know that, but it just seems like it's so much more apparent in this particular situation than it ever has been before, you know, that I respond by going, it's fine. I can control all of it. I can control your life and your workload and how you're spending your time and what our house looks like and how much screen time everybody has. I can control it all because I can Excel spreadsheet that stuff and it's going to be okay. And, you know, I'm going to remind you and remind you and remind you and remind you that the 6th grader has a Zoom call at this time and the 2nd grader has a Zoom call at this time. And, you know, my husband's MO is like, we got free time, man. Like, let's take a nap. Let's read. Like, oh, the kids are playing. Like, they're happy. They're breathing. They're fine. And I'm like, okay, can we find a middle ground here? Like, I have a lot of things to learn from what's happening with him, right? Like a lot. And, you know, he probably has some things that he can take from my responses as well. But we're like every day, it's like a recalibration every day.
Well, and as you're I'm thinking, I don't know, for us, it's like when one person is kind of having an off day, the other person can balance out. And now we're both going through the stuff at the same time. Hey, Lori. We're both going through the stuff at the same time. So it's like nobody's in their like zone to be able to create this like balance. So it's just crazy.
Yeah. We got to throw the ball back and forth.
Yeah.
Lori, hi.
Hi. Yeah. Is this a Zoom meeting?
Yes. Well, sort of.
Okay.
It is.
Took some finagling to get to you.
Oh, really?
But here I am. Yeah, it was like I had to download some accessions thing. Accession. Who cares?
You couldn't just click on the link?
Nope. It took me to some other weird thing, and then I ended up having to download something called Accession Meeting Installer.
Did you have to do that too, Sandy?
Mm-mm.
It's weird. I'm Zooming all day, every day over here.
Yeah,
it's Lori just said, "What up?" Lori King and Stephanie Hartzler.
That's awesome. Sandy, I don't know if you know this, but Lori's new job at, say the whole long name, Maricopa Regional.
Basically, Maricopa County Regional School District.
She works for and with the moms of one of our alumni.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, one of our long time alumni. So it's very small world. It's very cool. So Lori, how are you? Sandy and I were just kind of checking in on what quarantine and pandemic reality feels like after a month, because it feels really different than it did a week ago or 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Well, time is so crazy, first of all, because I was just on at 2:30, we have our directors meetings, and I was just like, how long have we been doing this? And they said we've been at our distancing for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
5 weeks for our school district. We've been doing all this. So, which I guess is good, because if they had said it's only been 2 weeks, because sometimes that's what I feel like, right? Like, oh God, it feels like forever, but it hasn't been that long. But then when somebody said we have 6 weeks of school left, I said, oh my God. But you parents of school-aged children, I love you so much. I just love you, because I always, I didn't have a choice. I had to work and be out of the home, and my child had to go to like daycare and preschool and, and school. So only when he was a tiny baby was I with him all day, you know?
Yeah.
So I love you. It takes a lot.
It's been okay. I don't know. I mean, everybody's got in a different place and has had a different story, obviously, but you know, and we're super fortunate at my house because Joe's a teacher and he really only has to do about one lesson a week because he's not teaching a core subject. So he's taken on a majority of the schooling of the kids and the childcare and all of that. And our kids are at ages where it's pretty easy. But I know, I mean, people that have more than 2 kids or people that have, you know, really young kids and kids in school and, you know, people that need to be out of the house for their jobs. Like there's just so many different dynamics that people are having to manage right now. So I know it's a lot. And I'm sure the parents of your students, Lori, are, you know, really in interesting situations. What's going on with them?
Oh, wow. Well, our school district is amazing. Of course, they're so small that it's basically like a lot of attention. So our teachers they work all day, every day, honestly. And plus they're doing a teacher-led governance structure. So they're all teacher leader. They're basically all principals. And so since it's a brand new process, they have a lot of work to do around that. But so our kids they seem to be doing relatively well. They have classes all day, every day, not all day.
Wow.
But they have multiple touch points every day with their teachers during class time. And then also the teachers have office hours. And so apart from their classes. And they get, every week we do we have a delivery day where they come and pick up all sorts of things for the week. Food box, it's like a big box. So it includes food and snacks and then all of the arts and crafts activities and any kind of manipulative activity that they might be using, resources for parents. They have all sorts of fun competition things. So there's drawings and gifts, and so they've been lucky to be really engaged. And then of course there's a couple teachers that we have a couple critical needs families, and they get deliveries to the house multiple times a week and some engagement, sort of distance engagement with the teachers multiple times a week. It's really, really awesome.
Wow, that is incredible. How did you guys handle the technology situation?
One-on-one computers and hotspots for people that don't have them.
Did they have that already, or?
Yeah, they had computers. Not everybody needed to have a district computer. Some of the families had their own computers at home, but they all had computers at school anyway. And so there was a process of cleaning and setting up computers and then redistributing them to the kids. And of course, we learned really quickly to put all the extra blockers on things. Kids real quick showed us what they were interested in. Boobs and butts and things.
Oh wow, yes, that's what my 8-year-old searches for online too. That is awesome.
Yeah.
And how are you doing, Lori? How's your mental and emotional?
So lucky. I'm doing well. I think for me, I've been really introverted for a while now, a solid year or so. So that part's not that bad. But at very first, I was struggling to find my value, but I've got that all sorted. So it's good. It's just oddly tiring because I don't spend time on a screen in my real life. I spend little time on screens, and now I spend all day on screens, and it's exhausting. So
yeah, it is exhausting in a different way, isn't it? It's just mentally horrible. I think. What are you doing to charge yourself back up again?
Well, so right in the beginning of all this, I saw that podcast with Dr. Bruce Perry and Guy McPherson. Did you see that one where Dr. Bruce Perry is talking about the importance of, that social distancing is the wrong term. We need to stay physically distant, but emotionally connected. So,
totally.
And so that was really helpful, because in that he talked about the importance of whatever we do to keep our sort of energy up, whether that's dancing or yoga or walking or whatever, it can't be once a day. He's like, you have to do it every 30 minutes to an hour. Every 30 minutes to an hour, you should be getting up and moving 5 to 10 minutes. So I was grateful for his permission in doing that right away, because I basically pontificate that scientific fact to everybody that I work with. Like, all these back-to-back meetings, we have to be able to take breaks, get up, 10-minute breaks every hour and move our bodies around. And so I've been doing that. I mean, it's gorgeous out. We're so lucky.
Yeah.
I got my little dog. I just walk around. Yeah. So thank you for asking. I'm all right. It's just weird. I'm so grateful to be working. So yeah. Sandi, how are you doing? Because I'm sure this is really affecting you.
Yeah, well, I was just telling Jess, I'm like overwhelmed. I was counting on, I was kind of trying to reframe it when everything started going down, like, I'll have some time. I'll have some time to read some books that I've got stacked up that I want to read, and I'll be, and that's not, people have adjusted very quickly to this whole concept of virtual training.
Yeah.
So the wrapping up the contract for the coalition coaching, and
okay, yeah.
So it's been rather interesting in terms of just things moving on, and working with TCC and trying to get some virtual options for Triple P going, and so it's been a fun, creative time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's been a bit overwhelming. So sure. I'm like, this is an interesting dichotomy, because I was looking for this downtime, and it's really been a good, and obviously a little bit of stress as well, shifting that, but it's not been bad.
Yeah.
Good. It's been okay. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Too, people are all about the virtual trainings. So
yeah. So I'm, stretching that skill set a little bit and learning new things, and
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so we've started doing family game night every night, so that's been fun too.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. What kind of programming is Free Arts able to do right now, girl?
Yeah, we're actually doing a lot, and we pivoted pretty quickly. So we met as a team, I think it was March 16th, so like right as everything was going down, and decided to suspend everything except for the mural that we were working on the building. And instead, we started putting together a video series. So we've got a couple videos up right now, and then a whole slew going up probably in the next 7 days. Some of those are kind of trauma informed, how do you notice things? Well, it's the ones that you helped me brainstorm, right? And then our alumni are creating some about how they're coping, just like little short ones.
That's awesome.
And about their free arts experience. And then our teaching artists are doing series. So we've got a 5-session visual art series, a 3-session dance and movement series that are all going to go up. And those are open to everybody, not just the kids in our programs.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting. And then we did a mailing to everybody with curriculum for 3 at-home art projects that you can do in your own home. So every partner agency and foster family got those, which was really cool.
Awesome.
And then we've been doing take-home projects. So I think we've put together 25 bags a week for the last 4 weeks. So we've delivered 100 bags of projects. So we've served, it'll be 1,000 kids by tomorrow through take-home projects, and each child gets 3 projects. So our partner agencies are thrilled about that, and they're doing things like like hoarding them. And then, you know, at a critical moment when the kids are like going to throw a laptop at somebody else, they're like, it's free arts time. And then they bring out the intentional art activities. So that's super cool. We put the ask out for that, and 48 hours later, we had 75 agencies that wanted projects. So we're going to start, next week starts round 2. So we've got 3 new projects that they can request. So that's been really cool. And then Sandi and I started this, which has been definitely slow to pick up, but we really like talking to each other. So we're going to continue doing it. We've been making art on the call every week, and that's been really fun.
I'm so proud of you. What'd you make today?
We didn't make anything yet, so we can save it for you. We were going to talk about, I mean, it kind of goes with what we've been talking about. Sandi and I decided we were going to do like a big meaty check-in today with whoever was here to find out, like, how are you feeling now, and how is that different than what it was like a few weeks ago, and what do you need right now? And then we were going to ask folks to create a permission slip for themselves to give themselves what they need. In whatever way that is, but I think the more specific, the better. So we can do that if you guys want to, because it is kind of fun to take a minute to create. And we're recording this, Lori, so we may put this on our little Facebook group for caregivers afterwards. So we haven't gone through our normal ritual, though. Usually we do a little check-in. We kind of talk to people about what the call is about. And then we do some breathing, Lori. And I cite you and I channel you. My friend Lori taught us how to do this breathing, but now you get to lead us in the breathing before we make art. How about that, since you're here?
Okay, yeah. So let's just sort of try to ground our feet into the floor a little bit, and maybe just do a little chair dance, wiggle a little bit, you know, like this. Maybe roll our shoulders back a little. So, you know, being at our desks all day, we tend to like close in, right?
Yeah.
So it's real important to like try to open up our hearts a little. And I always really like the just, you know, gently put one ear to, you know, towards your shoulder, and then breathe and rise up, and then gently exhale to the other, and just a couple times like that. You know, and then my friend Robin, who's a yoga instructor, we occasionally I'll take one of her classes, and she started out class yesterday. It was so fun and different from my yoga class. We just started out like wiggling it out and like sort of like shaking it out, and it was so fun. And you know, it felt funny at first, but then like, you know, just like shaking it out a little bit. Just felt really good in my body. So
That's awesome.
That's all I have for you today. But it is important. I try to like before I start every Zoom call, when everybody jumps on, I'm like, okay, everyone, let's just like stretch out a little bit.
Smart.
You have to remind yourself too. It's funny, you know. But yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Sandi and I talk about that a lot, about how we have to take just conscious breathing breaks, because you forget how to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That's where my technology has saved me. My husband got me an Apple Watch for Christmas, and I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but it tells me to breathe, and it tells me to stand breathe is more often, but stand every hour. I get a little reminder. I know. And it's funny because I didn't realize that hunching thing. And I don't know what I did. I laid flat on a few weeks ago, I was laid flat on the floor for some reason. I put my arms out to the side, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been hunching at the computer. And so now it's like, when I'm walking in the morning, I'm trying to make sure that I'm like stretching, like just expanding my lungs. So, because that feeling of the hunch.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and you know, at the Prevent Child Abuse Arizona conference a couple years ago, that woman keynoted at the beginning, talking about how our
Yeah.
system makes us like protect our vital organs. That just really resonated with me. I talk about that almost every time I get up and talk to people, because that's fascinating. So in this time, we might think we're not stressed, but we are, you know. So yeah. Anyhow, I used these this morning. I'm so lucky. I get to do little 30-minute professional development with all of our school district staff on Thursday mornings. So 8:30 in the morning, we all meet. It's a Zoom thing. So that has been like a savior for me, to have that creative process.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Forward to that and feel like I can contribute in that way. It was so interesting the very first week I did it, because this is just the third week I've done it. So if we've been at this for 6 weeks, 3 weeks I was kind of just struggling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can't even remember how we came up with this, but that first week it was so powerful of an awareness, you know, exercise, how much I need to feel creative. Create, to produce, create something. So yeah, I don't know. I don't ever consider myself an artist, but it doesn't matter, because we all have to feel creative.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that was a really like fortunate thing about how free art shifted, just for me personally, because I was instantly able to collaborate with you, Sandi, on the content for these calls, and then you, Lori, to just think about what those videos could be and produce those like almost immediately. And thank goodness, because same thing. I just felt like I had to make something and get it out in the world like as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think you need permission to do right now? Brainstorm first. Why don't we take like 2 minutes? And first, Lori, do you have any art supplies close by?
Sure. I have plenty of markers. I got some paint. I've got some watercolor paper, and I got origami paper.
Nice.
I got stuff.
Great. Grab it.
My son Sam's here. This is one of my favorite people, Jessica. If you want to say
Jessica.
hi. Say
hi. I've heard a lot about you. How's it going?
It's going good.
Good.
Kind of boring all the time. Quarantine stuff's getting old.
Yeah, man. Happy quarantine.
Yeah, you too.
No.
The other day when I was painting Easter eggs by myself, it's fine. I had this watercolor paper, I think left over from free arts, and so I cut it into I ripped it into these little pieces, and then I started dyeing a bunch of paper, and it was
fun.
So pretty. And then let's see if we can see. I made this little heart out on my fence. How do you turn the camera around? Let me see.
Are you on a computer?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. I think you just have to turn it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's not like a phone.
Yeah, you don't have to check.
Well, you probably can't see anything because it's so bright. Anyhow, you see that?
Oh, cute!
You see them?
That's cool.
So they're little pieces of dyed watercolor paper with dyed Easter egg dye.
Oh my gosh, that's
fun.
awesome.
Actually, I dunked little edges in the paper, and then when I set it to dry on this other piece of paper, it made this beautiful thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that funny? Anyhow.
Now you need to do something cool with that.
I know.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's take a minute and brainstorm what what are the things that you might need permission to do right now? Maybe it's things you haven't even thought of yet. Let's just maybe write them down. Grab a piece of scratch paper on the back of the paper you want to use in a minute. And be as specific as you can. Elizabeth Gilbert always says that the universe responds to or searches for specificity. So,
Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote the Eat, Pray, Love?
yeah.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I have one. Does anybody else have ideas? Did you get a few? Okay. Is there one that you feel like, yes, I need a permission slip. I need a permission slip to do that.
I need a permission slip to cry.
Yes. Sandi, what's yours?
Mine were all around the same, but I think what captures it is I need permission to be unavailable for a while.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. As I'm sitting here, and I'm not even gonna okay, so Lori, I don't know if I've ever told you my husband does events and travel. So his business has stopped, my business has stopped. So he's doing Instant Cart. And so I'm sitting here with my phone next to me because he doesn't shop. He's not the grocery shopper. So, but he's out there, he's doing it. And so I'm like, I've got the phone next to me in case he can't find something. The funniest thing is the first order that he got was this very lovely older woman. When he went and delivered it, he goes, she had to have been in her 70s and she was getting ready for Passover. So it was all of this Jewish food he's searching through in the store. He's like, what's this? What did he say? Geeflight fish? And like, develop the fish. So, but it's been, I mean, he's been awesome, but it's like, I feel like I have to be available if he can't, so I need to unplug and not be available to support my kids and not be available to, I mean, they don't need my support 24/7. They're doing it. They're okay. So
what does that look like specifically, Sandi? Is it like locking yourself in a room or putting yourself outside or going for a drive alone?
I think it's just telling because it's not like my family is stopping me. I'm stopping me that's why I need the permission slip from myself.
Yes.
So if I say I'm going to be in the bedroom, I mean, I could just go to the bedroom, just sit. The only person that doesn't leave me alone is the dog, but that's okay because he's very cuddly. He just needs to have his touchy space. So yeah, so it really is nobody stopping me from doing it except me.
Yeah. So mine is, I need a permission slip to run, twirl, throw, catch, and tag with abandoned with my kids. I need permission to play.
That's wonderful.
So let's,
Jess, I have to tell, I'll try to find the stuff and send it to you. That is one of the pieces of this class, the self-reg class that I'm doing, is, this whole thing of how important play is. Like, playing with abandon, not just playing at playing, but actually playing, how important that is. So.
Oh, that's cool. Yes, you should definitely send that to me. Well, should we make our permission slips? Let's make them in whatever way we want. I think they could be a letter, they can be a certificate. You decide how to give yourself this permission slip. And I'm going to turn on a little bit of music, and let's take about 10 minutes to create, which might not be enough time, but that's okay. And then we can come back and share. Sound good?
Yeah, thanks.
Yay!
Still got payphones, it costs $1 a minute to tell me you're getting sober. You wrote me a letter, but I don't have to read it. I wanna kill you if you don't beat me to it. Dreaming through Tokyo skies, I wanna be seen.
All right, friends. I feel like that's probably a good place to pause, although I know we could all keep going forever. I always feel like after we do this, it's like you just get a little taste, and then I have to just keep going. Like I'll sign off with Sandi, and then I'll go sit at my kitchen table and create for like another 45 minutes. So, but what you got so far?
I just did a little squiggle collage.
Let's see.
Okay.
Whoa! Fun!
You just squiggle around, and then all the little spaces, all the little shapes, you just do a different color.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I was thinking it looked like a teardrop in part of it.
Mm.
Because I've had a lot of stuff going on, so I've just been like stuffing it down, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sandi, what'd you make?
I made my out of the office sign.
That's so awesome.
I love it that you guys did not take this literally at all. That's amazing. Is that going to go on your door?
That I was thinking as I got almost done with it, I should have done it on a sticky note so I could just stick it to the door. But yeah,
That's so awesome.
I'll probably be putting something on there to just hang it on the doorknob and.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
I love
creative. That's awesome, you guys. Well, mine looks much more like an actual permission slip.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And it says, I, the headmaster of the School of Wonder and Joy, give Jessica Marion Flowers permission to run, twirl, skip, throw, jump, dance, catch, kick, tag, slide, and play with abandon.
I love it.
Nice.
Yay!
Beautiful. Jessica, what do you think has been a barrier to you doing all of those skipping and twirling and playing with abandon?
It's a good question, Lori. I think because I feel like I have the ultimate responsibility to keep everybody on track and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I'm also working 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm done, it's time for dinner. I mean, it's kind of just like when things are normal, except I'm not driving into the office every day.
Right.
So I think I don't have to be working maybe quite that much. And I also, you know, if my kids eat dinner at 8 o'clock at night, meh,
Yeah.
who cares? So.
And you know, Jess, we've talked a couple of times about what are we going to take with us, you know, when things start to get back to, you know, whenever they're going to be after we've, you know, our country, our world has figured out what to do about COVID. I mean, I'm thinking of this, like you said, it's no different than any other day, except you're not leaving your house.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping that permission slip open, not just because we are in these unusual times, but I'm thinking for myself as well, like, this is not the first time I felt like I have to be present and available 24/7 to help people and shepherd and lead and coach, and it's not the first time I've needed a timeout slip or a out of the office sign. And I even said this to my husband on Easter Sunday. I said, you have to help me take today off. I have been squeaking in a little bit of work here and there all over the place, and it has been 5 weeks of literally at least doing something related to work every single day.
Yeah.
And so I have to stop that because it is really, you know, like Lori, like you, like just shoving down, knowing that there's that small voice that says, just be at peace, and the rest of the voices, it's all the people that live in my head are shouting that one voice down, saying, no, just one more thing. When you get this done, then you can rest. When you get that done, then you can rest. And so for you, it's like, when we get this done, now I can play.
Yes.
You know? And just bringing that with you. And I mean, and for you, Lori, just, you know, being with your people that you can cry with, or being with yourself that you can, and just making that time. We just, you know.
Yeah.
That space.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I have seen a lot of silver linings in all of this. However, one thing I've noticed is a disillusion of boundaries with respect to communication, right? Since like we live in this virtual world right now, it's like people are communicating with me all the time. You know, it could be 9 o'clock at night, I get a text message, weekends, messages, you know, emails, do this, you know, it's like interesting, you know. So, you know, I think that's my job to be able to speak up and say, you know what, even though, you know, I want to just keep weekends, right? Um, so not feeling bad about speaking up because I haven't, you know, but because quite frankly, we do have a lot of flexibility. So if I take an hour break in the middle of the day to take a long walk and talk to my neighbor whose mom's dying right now or whatever, you know, I also don't feel nobody cares if I'm doing that. So, you know, anyhow.
Yeah, those are hard boundaries to set, and they do feel squishier when you're home all the time and everybody else is home all the time.
Right. Right.
Well, thanks, ladies. This has been the most fun, as usual.
Well, I appreciate you because you give me permission to just like do this where I don't do it typically without your permission. So.
Right. Well, that's what we're here for, to create some safe space and give people permission to notice what's happening with them and their loved ones and create something that can help them notice maybe and record those things. So,
yeah. Thank you. I'm so happy I got to join you.
Yay!
Us too. And Lori, if you know anybody that you might want to invite to be part of these calls, I mean, we're calling them caregiver calls, but I think that goes for parents, it goes for social workers, it goes for teachers. I mean, you know, anybody in that broadest definition. First, we had thought, you know, this would just be for the staff at the partner agencies that we work with, but we also know that they are, I mean, talk about not being able to take a break. They're 24/7 with a lot of those kids. So we've had a couple, we've had two on 2 different weeks, and I think that it's been really meaningful for them, but we're happy to continue to create the space for whoever wants to come any Thursday at 3 o'clock.
I love it. And I know I can think of several, especially teachers right now.
Yeah, we'll spread the word.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Bye, Sandi. So good to see you.
Thank you guys. Art heals. Bye.
Art heals. Amen.